Hi, I'm Connor Pendergrast and welcome to episode 9 of Support Stack. Tobi Davis, welcome back to Support Stack. I'm excited to have you here in your role as Head of Customer Experience at Pupil Progress. How are you today?
Yes, all good. Excited to really dig into Fin.
Absolutely. So the genesis of this particular conversation, Tobi, is we'd a little look behind the curtain. I don't actually just jump into these, I actually speak and do a little bit of preparation. So Tobi and I spoke a few weeks ago, and he mentioned a data point that absolutely blew my mind, which was that their Fin resolution rate was stuck at about 55%. And through a lot of, we'll say it's a lot of hard graft and a lot of work, but within 2 months, it had a 20 percentage point lift. And so the average resolution rate went from 55% to 75% in 2 months. Tobi, say the same.
Yes.
Hang on, what's that on your screen?
Yes, I mean, very, very proud of this. And before we get into anything, I will give a quick shout out to Ellie and Lan on my team. Absolutely incredible work. As much as I would love to take credit for all myself, I definitely cannot. Because and it's interesting. It changes the way that you kind of think about things and changes the way that you kind of think about how you do support. Because we started using Fin June 2023. June 2024. Sorry, I mean, forgot what year it was for a second. And at first, it was a bit of a disaster, and then we kind of fixed it. And then we were sitting at, as you say, somewhere 40 to 50% resolution rate, and sort of thinking that was what it was going to be, right? And it's like, okay.
Because if you think about it, what you're saying is we were sitting at a point where Fin was handling half of the incoming conversation volume.
Yeah.
We would have done, imagine thinking back 5 years ago, you would have bitten off so many hands just to get that.
That's exactly right? And kind of obviously you and I were just speaking about the resolution bot, which is what we had come from beforehand, and even forget 15% resolution from 15? That would have been. I don't think we were getting that. I don't 10%. Think we were. But if we did, I'd have been like, whoa. So moving from the resolution bot to Fin. And, starting that off as, a challenge, as I'm sure everybody who adopted Fin has, and, working on that, getting it to the point where it's at about 40-50% resolution. I was like, brilliant. This is fabulous. This is exactly what we want. And then sort of from January onwards, we really amped up the work in terms of mainly in terms of two things: audiences and our content, just the way that our help center content was structured. And sort of as a result of doing that, we as you can see, sort of sitting relatively consistent around 50% here, and you can see sort of into the summer we were at a much more consistent sort of 70 to 80%, and that seems to be sort of roughly, from the new academic year onwards. You can see that's now sort of relatively stable around 75 to 80.
Yeah, and this is looking on a week by week basis, just for anyone who's looking at the chart, which is why there's a little bit of fluctuations. But but that's fantastic. So I think if we're gonna. So obviously the point of this whole series is to give actionable takeaways to people so that they can know, okay, well, if I want to improve my resolution rate in the same way, every business is unique and every customer support experience is unique. But if we're learning from Pupil Progress and how you and Ellie and Lauren improved this experience and improved Fin's ability to manage these interactions, there were some things in particular that have massive returns on investment for you. Is that right?
100%. Yeah. I think one of the main things for us, and it was sort of something that we resisted at first, was sort of going all in to AI first, or going all in to, okay, Fin is our our first point of call, because there's something kind of we had identified even before the jump here, which is a bit of a like an 80-20 split, right? So we were finding that the bulk of our customers, around 80%, just kind of wanted an answer as quickly as possible. They weren't really fussed about having a conversation with us or having that kind of personal connection. They just couldn't do something that they needed to do. They wanted to just be able to do it and move on and, get on and log off and go do something else, I would imagine. But the flip side to that is you have the 20% who are kind of the opposite. They're prepared to wait a bit more time. They're prepared to, to sort of potentially go through a bit of a longer process to have a conversation with a person, be able to ask their questions in a way that they know a person will be able to understand, and do it that way. And obviously, as you say, I'm sure that will be, the numbers there will be different for every business. I think, as we spoke about in a previous episode, a lot of our users are not super technology literate or maybe a bit more resistant to adopting new technologies like something like Fin than others. And what we did at first is, because I think maybe we weren't 100% confident in Fin, or we didn't sort of have that all-in mindset, is we sort of flip-flopped a little bit. At first we still tried to follow the same structure that we had before. So you search for an article, you find one, great. You don't, you go through to Fin, it answers it, great. It doesn't, you go through to the team. What we did is just Fin from the beginning in the prompt message. If you want to speak to a person, just say speak to a person, and it will go straight through. And the really, really positive thing about that is it means that your users are self-categorizing, right? Like, there would have been a certain chunk of people around this time that probably were never fully going to be happy with a Fin answer, or they wanted to speak to a person, to have that, a specific person look at their specific data and tell them what's going on. So we were finding that even if Fin gave the right answers to that person, they were still coming through to one of the team anyway, because they wanted that sort of extra level of confidence. So if you're just putting it in the initial prompt message on Fin, if someone wants to wait to speak to one of our team, brilliant. That's what we're here for. But it means that it's going to be a better experience for them, because they're not going to sort of get into a conversation with an AI, not fully be happy with the outcome, and then go through to a member of our team. Whereas if someone's in the other camp and they just want an answer, they just want their problem solved, they
can get it straight away.
They can get it straight away. And so, as part of this, we are taking out a number of conversations that I suppose would be a much higher likelihood of being unsuccessful, and just leaving Fin to focus on the people who really want that kind of support.
Yeah. So the first thing you changed was then you updated your workflows and had let Fin answer as the first step. Mm-hmm. But you also had a prompt there and guidance, I presume, that says like, hey, okay, well, you can go through to the customer. What was the second thing you did then? What was the next change you made?
That's absolutely right. I mean, and the next change, and I think something that was super, super significant for us, was actually taking the time to restructure our entire knowledge base, basically. And I'll give huge amounts of credit to my colleague Lam for this, because before she kind of took it and did her thing with it, all of the articles were kind of written in the way that I talk, right? So like long paragraphs, way more text there than needed to be.
An editor's nightmare.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so, that's all well and good if someone is reading your knowledge article from top to bottom like it's a letter, which realistically people aren't doing. And also Fin really struggles to do. So what she did was just kind of clean everything up, basically. We had the information there, but it was in such an inaccessible format that, Fin wasn't able to pull the information that it needed. And so what it would either do is it would not be able to answer the question, or it would try and answer the question with what it could infer, but what it could infer wouldn't really make sense, or wouldn't
Yeah.
it would be sort of getting muddled up with 3 different features at a time and talking about buttons that don't exist. This is not even to say that some of our articles were just a video, without any thing else
to
on
solve X problem, watch this video.
Yeah.
And Fin can do nothing with that.
Exactly. There were a few, it's like, how to add this thing, and it would just say, watch the video below. And the video would be, great in terms of telling them how to do it. But
if someone wants to watch a video.
Exactly. But yeah, so what she did was, really sort of restructure that, as I say. So things where we had videos, making really clear like bullet points about the specific actions in the video, step by step sort of guidance that way. What we would do as well is we would have, maybe multiple articles that all kind of talk about the same thing, or that we could amalgamate differently, or that we could kind of split up the way that we needed to split up. We would utilize audiences. So, for us, and the amount of different types of users that we have on our platform, we have teachers, we have subject leaders, head teachers, data managers, all of these people within the school that are using Pupil Progress differently. So, one thing is, if say I teach child development and I need to add an assessment, practical assessment for child development, and Connor, maybe you teach maths or science or something that has a very different way of assessing, the information that you're going to need to get from Fin is quite different, and the way that it works is quite different. Even though you're asking the same, we're both asking the same question, we wouldn't both want to get the same answer, because there's things about, us and the job that we do that means that's slightly different. So, really making that content in the articles easy to read, both for Fin and for humans, right? That's the other side to it. Is beforehand, we were writing something that a person could read. Now everything that we produce is for 2 audiences, specifically for our users who come across those articles, and then for Fin as well to pull the information from. But then on top of that, making sure that Fin knows who to say what to, and if there's something about, I'll give an example here. If I just switch over the tab to our audiences. Yeah. So one thing for us is repeatable subjects and non-repeatable subjects, right? Which is language that we use, but basically it's the way that the exam works, and the exams work differently for something like history or English than they do for these subjects. English will have the same structure every single year, and maths will have completely different structure. So the way that you add the assessments is different. And so if someone's coming through and they're saying, okay, I want to add a past paper for, whatever subject it is, depending on what subject they teach, the answer that Fin will give them, the information that it will pull from in terms of what it's pulling from our help center, will be different.
Super. Okay, so I think there's 3 takeaways here for people. The first and most important was just let people interact with Fin. It sounds obvious, but let them interact with Fin, and also make it very clear that you can talk to a human at any point as well. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is make sure that your knowledge center, your public help articles are written so that people and Fin, AI agent, can consume them, can interpret them correctly, and can understand them, and then share that information with whoever needs it. And that includes, if you want to have a video, but but people also don't want to watch a full video, like a
Yes.
4-minute video, just to learn something that could be in a bullet pointed list, or that you want to come back to and scan again. So have those separate from the video and, in the same page and alongside the video. Because then someone who wants a little bit more detail, like Fin includes those footnotes that you can click into, and the references, which is a great way of gaining more confidence in what Fin is saying, can go through and then see the video and be like, oh, actually, I do need a visual guide to how to do this. So that's the second point. And then the third one is your audiences that you're showing here.
Mm-hmm.
But where are you applying these audiences? Are you applying these to the help center or
yes.
in other places?
So predominantly the audiences are applied to the help center. So particular articles, we might have two very similar versions of the same article, but you can only see one if you teach certain subjects, and you can only see the other if you teach other subjects. What we also do sort of on top of audiences, and again, this is something that we were speaking about beforehand in terms of something like custom answers, or what used to be the resolution bot, is slightly different, is maybe something like in here where we only want this answer to show for subject leaders rather than teachers or somebody else. So we don't always necessarily add the audience in the same way. Sometimes we'll do it sort of based on particular criteria. This can sometimes be a nicer way of doing it as well, I think, because of the level of specificity to our users and how they use Pupil Progress. Sometimes we might want to drill down sort of even further for a specific bit of guidance. Say, for example, something that has come up recently is languages. One of the exam boards, they've changed all the specifications for the languages. So, you're sort of getting uber specific where people are, say, trying to, they're still using the last specification, but they want to add the assessments from the new one. And then, you could add a new audience to do that, but you could also, it's just this one specific thing, this one specific message that we want to make sure they get. And so sometimes we'll be sort of more tight on setting the audience this way instead. So,
of course.
So as I say, predominantly that's on our articles, but also our custom answers as well.
That's very interesting. And so custom answers, you're using these mostly. Are they deprecated by Intercom yet, or they're not deprecated?
But it feels like
definitely not gonna. It doesn't seem like they're gonna do anything.
Yeah.
So probably something like content snippets would be where someone would start doing this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe internal articles, or even just like really, really, really narrow public help articles maybe as well.
That's exactly it.
What's really interesting, Toby, I think, like from what we talked about, the three things and the 20 percentage point lift that you've got, I talk about content, data, and actions being the three levers that you can pull for Fin, where your focus has been on the content, both in terms of custom answers and the public help articles, as well as data being the attributes, the company attributes and the user attributes that are feeding into your audiences, but nothing on the action sides in terms of either data connectors or what was called tasks and is now called procedures. And you've had such great impact with those.
Yeah, and it's one of those where it's like the other side to this, right, is that everything is constantly evolving. Who knows? I didn't really think it would get much higher than sort of 40-50%, but who knows? I'm sure there's more things that we can do. I mean, obviously we've started recently using things like the Topic Explorer and these other tools that kind of we CX Score and things that we didn't have before. But I think our sort of philosophy with it has always been to give our users as much agency as possible. And as I say, I really believe that a positive or a great customer experience is a completely different thing for every single different person, and even the same person at different times they look for it.
Yeah.
And so what we try to do is keep that central to everything in terms of For me at this moment in time, a good customer experience is I need to really sit down and chat with someone, get on a call maybe and talk out this issue. Sometimes it is I just need to do this thing as quickly as possible and move on. And so I think by focusing on content and really making sure that, okay, we're not trying to do is say that Fin will take, we want it to take all of our support, or we think everybody should get support through Fin, because at the end of the day, it's not always right. It's not right for every person. It's not right for every support interaction. But we focus on the people who do want to get support that way and maximize that. And then also the people who don't want to get support that way, make it easy for them not to.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have happy people in both camps, because, the people who are getting their resolutions from Fin, they're getting super tailored information because we're putting so much focus into content and audiences. And then, as I said at the beginning, you're not getting the negative resolutions from the people that kind of don't really want to be chatting to Fin in the first place. And they're not sort of having to spend their time doing something that they don't want to do. So
brilliant.
Yeah, that's what's worked for us. And as I say, who knows, maybe we'll speak again at another point and there'll be
in
something
6 months
else going on.
When you're at 95% resolution
yeah,
rate.
exactly. When we're at 150%.
Done it through something totally different. Well, Toby, this has been really helpful. I hope people take away a lot from this and find ways of applying it to their own companies and their own support organizations and improving their customer support experience. But in the meantime, if anyone would like to find out more about you and Pupil Progress, where would they go?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to send me a message on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. More than happy to sort of answer any questions or help the CX community in any way that I can. But yeah, if you want to know more about Pupil Progress and what we do for schools, then do just pop us into Google and let it do its magic.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. And if you, dear watcher, viewer person, would like to find out about future episodes of Support Stack, you can go to customersuccess.cx/daily, and that will get you signed up to my weekdaily, in fact, newsletter, where you can hear all about Support Stack and all of my other ideas and suggestions and tweaks on how you could improve your Intercom customer support experience. Other than that, have a lovely day. Bye.